Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where Adder was trying to find Illigrab, but unfortunately, Illigrab wasn't in his office. So I guess Adder is going back to the temple now, or something. Anyway. Adder walked with as much of a spring in his step as he could afford given his condition. The fickle rush of adrenaline and self-satisfaction from the extremely rigged battle of wits with Sir Askedas soon came undone in the dark streets. The acute awareness that our false knight would not have survived any other kind of battle with a broken hand and a few fractured ribs followed him wherever he went. He tried to pick up the pace, only to realize he couldn't even run. Adder had been an anxious wreck for as long as he could remember. His threadbare nerves had done him much good in the city, and fear was certainly nothing new, but he'd always felt quite confident in his ability to run from every problem in his life. He'd never known horror quite like now. Every star seemed a pair of hungry eyes, every lantern a fire about to swallow the city whole. By the time Adder arrived at the temple, he'd been clenching his fists for so long that his dull hooves had managed to bruise his palms.
I'm back.
No response. Adder pushed the blanket he'd half-nailed to the doorway as a makeshift door to the forge, and made his way in. Zhao was nowhere to be found. This was enough to set Adder's brain back into overdrive. A million possibilities pelted his insides, from the morbid to the mundane. He darted across the first floor, desperately looking for a hint of a whole new tragedy. Just as he was about to start screaming for the priestess, he found her tiny, motionless body. He barely managed to choke down a sob as he caught her chest rising in a long sigh. Jia was sleeping quietly in a corner of a long-abandoned kitchen, buried in a pile of books that had at some point collapsed over her. She didn't seem the slightest bit concerned about the dust and the dreadful amount of spider webs all around her. Her new clothes lay neatly folded over her lap, next to a small stack of raw potatoes clearly meant for her translator. Adder couldn't even afford the mental space to feel hungry anymore. Restlessness took it all. He looked around one last time, hoping to expel any creatures hiding in the rafters with a mean glance. Once half satisfied with his examination, he sought his peace in the gentle flame hiding inside the forge. The smell of rose and almonds in that cloyingly sweet perfume Sepp always wore beckoned him. It made him feel at home.
Hey, Sepp. I went out looking for Illigrab, but guess what? I ran into Lord Snotty Snout instead. And whoo boy, Miss Rochelle sure did a number on him like you wouldn't believe. He was more hammered than his sword, talking to me all like, Sir Upperfield, my good friend, come drink with me in my palace. I says to him, I say, as if I'd rather drink my own
Adder looked back. There was a priestess just next door. He couldn't possibly say such a thing in front of a priestess.
So, yeah, big surprise. You were right all along. The second I clean up real nice, everyone's listening to me like I'm suddenly worth a damn. I know you never cared about any of that, but I'll let you get me all the clothes you want when you're back. I'll wear my finest for you every day. You can laugh at me and take 'em off and get me all tight.
Adder turned his head back again very quickly, just to check if Joe was still sleeping. Yeah, that's probably not the kind of thing you should talk about in front of a priestess either.
Anyway, I'll let you do whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy. I'm waiting for you. Get well soon. I miss you.
Aw. Adder stayed up as long as he could, observing the flame in silence, so as to not wake Zhao up. He lost the staring contest at some point. Voices plagued his dreams. The morning skies brushed over the darkness of the new moon, painting the world in bright hues of yellow and purple. Sunbeams, delivered from Baitatse into the forge, through the narrowest crevices, just to poke Adder right in his one eye. The ex-smith apprentice stretched his body, yowling in pain all the while. He clicked his tongue, scratched his tail, and turned his head towards the sound of bubbling water nearby. Adder made his way into the kitchen, where he encountered a goat quietly preparing some breakfast tea.
Morning.
Tuck, I take it you didn't go to bed either.
No, I just... kind of crashed back there. By the way, if anyone asks, I'm Sir Upperfield now. You can still be Jow. No worries.
Zhao sent a strange look in his direction. She didn't have nearly enough tea in her body to start addressing that statement, so she just let it be.
It really pains me to say this, but I think I've hit a wall in my research.
Oh, crud, I hate hitting walls. Hey, you mind passing the tater plate?
Zhao needed a moment to understand that Adder was talking about the potatoes in front of her. She pushed the plate in Adder's direction and planted an open book on the table between them.
I believe I have a good enough grasp of the underlying teachings behind the accounts I've read, but many interesting leads are buried under walls of alchemical texts that I can't make tails or heads of.
Darn, that's a whole lot of sep talk if I heard some. So much for being a mind reader, right?
After studying it with uncalled for attention, Adder popped an entire raw potato in his mouth as usual. As usual for Adder, I mean. Zhao was perplexed at the sight.
I do not mean to look down upon your customs, Adder, but is it common in your land to eat potentially poisonous potatoes? Raw?
Yeah, no, I mean, back home, I was the one who handled the cooking, and then I went to Ford, and the cooks always handled out the rations, and then I figured out I ain't got no clue how food works, and a real nasty temper on the side, and...
You just assumed that preparing dishes would always be someone else's problem, and you prefer to get used to bad meals rather than do something about them yourself because it was too much work.
Couldn't have said it better myself!
You ingrate!
Huh?
What misery it must have been for our son to be wed to a raw-eating slacker like you! You can't expect everyone to provide for you and then criticize their work!
I ain't even hitched!
Repent for all the delicious tubers you've wasted! Repent!
Before Adder even had time to open his mouth to apologize to the as yet non-existent god of underground produce, Zhao pried his good hand open and placed a potato in it.
Wash that potato, peel it, cube it, boil it, bury the unpeeled ones under ashes, skewer those bits with a stick and roast them. Salt, salt, salt! You can't just let life carry your dead weight through the stream. Seize the chances you're given and make the best out of them.
Yes, chef!
Now eat. Eat while it's hot. How is it?
Very frothy.
That's the taste of agency. Remember it.
I don't like you.
Of course you don't. You're used to the safety of your puny, tasteless raw potatoes of conformity. The taste of agency.
Joe took a bite and cringed.
Is an acquired one.
So you just can't cook either, huh?
They had to learn on the way here.
Joe and Adder sobbed quietly while they ate their oversalted potatoes.
What's all this ruckus in the morning?
Mr. Pertalk, sir! We were just cooking some breakfast.
Sack of gluttonous rakefires. Who paid for this meal?
I did?
A likely story.
The merchant felt his way around the kitchen with his cane, seemingly looking for something. The matter of Adder's expulsion, perhaps, as that seemed to have been misplaced somewhere in the night.
Would you like to join us, Sia?
No. I just thought I'd find my daughter loitering around with you.
The old man made to head back in the direction of the staircase. He raised an eyebrow towards the forge before he left.
Give that child something to eat, too. She must be starving.
Pertalk left for his tower without another word. Adder stayed staring at the doorway for a while after his old master left.
Huh. That's different.
What is?
Mr. Pertalk, he's less... Never mind. I feel like he'll come back and scream at me if I say it.
Joe didn't make an attempt to question him further. She made a little pile out of the cutlery and looked at the potato peels left on the dishes in a way that could only politely be described as utter disgust.
You think he meant getting her an actual tater? I don't think she would have accepted one of those alive.
What if we consecrate our devotion for the Jasif into the remains of our breakfast and hand it over?
You know, if you don't want to wash the dishes, you can just say that.
I'm sorry for scolding you about potatoes. Please get out of my mind.
Adder preemptively apologized to Zeb for the meager, unhoneyed meal that he was about to foist on her, and automatically headed towards his sacred dishwashing pool. Ja followed him out a few minutes later, now fully dressed up. One look at her and it became clear that she was busy silently judging this blatant misuse of religious infrastructure, but she remained entirely too polite to bring it up.
So, you're not married to a son?
No, of course not. I ain't good enough for that. She was going to marry someone else. Some moneybags with real big horns and a bigger chin, see? And don't even get me started on the size of his sword. Much more knightly than me, that one.
Ah, she honored him to be a knight too.
Nope. Enough for like a trying, I'm sure. I mean, it don't even gotta be a knight either. She was definitely doing her best to honor Aina, if you catch my drift. Not a subtle one, myself.
Sorry, Aina was, the daughter of the seer, yes?
Yep, that's my boss.
The giant lady is the seer's daughter?
What? No, that's... I mean, yeah, I guess she counts. Look, Eka may be my boss, but she ain't my boss. That'd be Aina. She's my teacher, my friend, and the strongest gal in all Dakana. If she was here, she'd fix everything in one punch. She's just gone for now.
Adder poured all of his energy into brushing the dish he was holding. In his mind, weeks had already passed since that last heart-to-heart he had with Aina in that exact same spot. But in reality, it had only been a few days.
First Aina, then Sep, Gulf too, I guess. I'll be damned if I could count on Eligrab or the patron for anything. Darn. With so many friends dropping left and right, I'm starting to believe I'm the one who's cursed.
Zhao looked askance at Adder, racking her brain for the right adage for the moment.
It sounds like you're dealing with a lot right now.
Nah, I'm fine.
Without another word, Zhao took one of the dishes from the pile and started brushing it as well. Her face made it clear she'd rather be brushing thistles.
I don't believe I have the power to help in any meaningful way, but sorry, I don't know if this is considered proper in Akathor, but I could offer you a hug, if that'll make you feel better.
Adder stared at her, dumbfounded. A moment later, both dishes went flying in the air as the tiny goat was nearly crushed to death.
Joe! You didn't need to. You're the nicest person I've met in my life, and I would fornicate anyone for you.
I appreciate that. Please don't get snot on my good robes.
Yeah, sorry. What'd you dress up for today anyway? You fancy him that much?
The congregation is growing fast, and we need to be ready to share the morning prayers with them.
Right, yeah.
Adder gave her a moment to tell him exactly what it read in her head. Zhao hid her blushing face in her hands.
And I want to make sure I look good in front of your boss in case she drops by.
Anything for your holiness.
What Zhao failed to mention as she led Adder to the roof over the colonnade he'd walled off is that where there had been merely 50 people the day before, there were now a couple hundred.
What the? There she is, our Jasif!
No, Ishcap! That's just a goat!
Priestess Zhao! Show us the Jasif!
Zhao, what is this?
The congregation of Hirub! They came back, inspired by our devotion!
That they are! No, for real. These folks should be working right now. You know what this is, right?
Followers of Hirub, yes? I'm sorry, something might be getting lost in translation. What am I supposed to be looking at?
Nothing. I'm sure this is just one of those thoughts rattling in my brain Sep would have had some words for. But still, don't get started just yet. Let me get a lay of the land first.
Adder, who by virtue of having gone from farmer to soldier to wanted criminal, had lived through all sorts of revolts, mutinies and riots, wouldn't have dared call a religious get-together for oppressed minorities any alarming words.
Not out loud, in a company that may have opinions about it.
He was closely acquainted, nevertheless, with the consequences that tended to happen to any get-togethers that escalated past a small nuisance in the eyes of the law. In the matter of crowds, emotions made all the difference. A few hundred angry people? That's a mob, and they fade with their fury. A few hundred scared people? That's a calamity, and they'll get it together once they're safe. But a few hundred Barhan, cheering for a glimpse of the culture they once shared? That was no fleeting emotion. Joy was too powerful a tool to ignore for the kingdom that wanted to silence it.
That's not what Adder was thinking, is it?
No, I'm sure Adder wasn't thinking anything quite so vehement back then. These are still words he said to me once, nonetheless. That he remembered the joy of the crowd decades past, more than the anger and fear, that it made all the difference in keeping their hearts alight with pride through the struggles. I thought you'd rather hear that.
Thank you.
Adder snuck out of the temple through the back entrance to the library and staggered around the corner to head to the yard. Whatever it was that he was pondering upon as he nervously scurried among the crowd in his knightly disguise, it soon came to a halt as his eye zoned in on a couple of gazelles that looked extremely familiar.
I told you, Kyubsop! That had to be the Yasif!
And I already told you that was no Yasif. I was just a delusional kid.
Oh, yes, we get thrown into a cell after a kid wanders down the desert rose claiming to be our son, and 10 years later the place goes down in flames? Manetop!
Matnet S. It's called a coincidence.
Gods, I really hope we get to see the Yasif soon, just so she can make you eat your words.
At least they'd be giving us something to eat then. Where's the fruit we were promised?
Hey, I know you.
You do?
I mean, I don't know you, but I know the Yasif, and the Yasif knew you.
What's with this guy? It's a really half-hearted scam.
Bet you Adoru that's not even what this thick skull's trying. Sodding weirdos. So, you say you know us, do you? What an honor it is to be recognized by an envoy from the Yasif. Just to make sure you're not getting the wrong gazelles here. What's my friend's name?
Wait, I got this. There was a weird word. You're the only one here, and, not! No, Dutch, Nur?
No, that's not it.
It was close though, right? Hold on. Maybe I'm just saying it wrong. Let me try again. I'm sure I can remember.
Look, buddy, I know what's going on. Saw these gazelles together and thought you'd say you're friends with the Yasif to see if they let you bite some horns. Well, we're not into that. Get lost.
Don't be like that. Yatsuribe are practically gazelles, right? Didn't you have a yellow deer in your extended family or something?
A crazy old bag is what she was. Just a hornless gazelle with a big snout. That doesn't make her a doe. Hey, you tour. You ever hear a deer call themselves Badhan?
No, but,
Didn't think so. Run along now before the Yasif starts missing her deer friend.
Adder merely bowed his head and marched back inside, far more deflated than before.
Did you have a good lie on the land?
the land? Oh, no, that was just a way of talking. You really thought I needed to go lie down on the dirt or something?
I thought it was some spiritual thing. A strategic positioning? Maybe you wanted to plant something? I don't know anything about Erlumite customs.
Yeah, you don't know anything and I don't know nothing. What the hell are either of us doing here?
Our best.
Adder's mouth hung open for a few seconds.
That's nice and all, but our best ain't good enough. They're not here to hear thoughts and prayers. They're gonna want a whole lot of things. It's all stuff we can't give them.
Adder retreated away from the roof, followed by the priestess worriedly accompanying him to the entrance. He took his helmet off one last time to look her in the eye.
We can't do this alone, Chow. We're in way above our heads.
That's what I've been saying all along.
Geoff. Cued Geoff strumming absent-mindedly at his oud, producing a sound that could be best described as the wail of the dying.
Geoff! What the? Bring it in, you little backstabber! I can't believe I'm still happy to see you.
I wish I could say the same! I really hoped I would never have to see your face again! Ugh! How many times do you need to get your tush saved in a week?
Saved? I should be the one saying that, you traitor! Didn't you get yourself arrested or something? At Lord Snotty Snout's palace? How did you even find us?
I was arrested! And by all technicalities, I still am. I was just about ready to walk out of the city with a small fortune and missing family heirlooms when Elbar's steward kindly informed me that a certain Sir Upperfield had been inquiring about me. I was moved by the thought of you infiltrating the guards' keep, hoping to rescue me, even after all the misfortunes keeping us away from each other.
After betraying me, you mean?
Mistakes were made on both sides in the heat of the moment, yes! What does that matter now? I still ran all the way here to find you. But what I find is that not content with getting almost executed once and almost getting captured twice, my dear knight in the making set out to become an agitator trying to start a riot!
No, it's all Miss Priestess here with her moving speeches. You should listen to the things she's actually saying. I'm doing a crap job translating for her.
I'm not sure where you got the impression any of that was meant in a positive way.
Of course it was. I mean what I said. You speak real pretty.
Adder, ladder, poorly stacked pile of acrimony. You know I love you from the bottom of this wretched heart, so I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Have you forgotten what's coming to us? Put those ridiculous clothes back where you found them and go get my sister before I drag you two out of the city by the tail!
Yeah, we kind of have something to tell you about your sister.
That ain't gonna be easy now, Bard.
I don't care how heavy her rear is. Tell her that if she doesn't walk out on her own 2 feet, I'll have Elba row her all the way up to the gates!
Why don't you tell her yourself?
Geoff stared at the fire with an unreadable expression.
Mind giving us a moment?
Zhao nodded and turned around the threshold, allowing the fake bard and the fake knight some level of fake privacy. A staring contest just for Geoff and what remained of his sister. Adder didn't dare make a single sound, incapable of imagining what he'd feel in Geoff's shoes. Worse yet, if anything happened to his little brothers, Adder would have no way to know, no way to do anything about it, even if he knew. All he could do was urge those thoughts out of his mind time and time again. Unaware of the silent turmoil he'd stirred within our protagonist, Geoff finally sunk his fingers into his own jowls and gurgled out some kind of annoyed squeak.
Not this again! Ugh!
Geoff threw his foot back, kicked the forge, and then squawked out a pained scream.
Say what? Hold on. This ain't the first time this has happened then?
Were that it was! What kingdom wouldn't love a queen so hot-headed that she bursts into flames the moment she gets a little stressed?
Listen here, Bard.
No, you listen! What did you do to her?
What did I do? I got her out of the house. She coalized and brought her ashes here. That's what.
That's all? How in the name of the Hatsa could that be all? She was perfectly fine yesterday. Escaping from some guards wouldn't make her do this. Not even the beasts. It has to be you! She didn't step out of line once in 10 years, and then you show up and...
She wasn't fine.
Geoff opened his mouth to reply, but no words came out.
Did she tell you that?
No. I loved her enough to know.
Pretending to throw up was puerile on Geoff's part, yes, but understandable as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, well, all the good that did. Your shoulder tattoos were nothing but a foretaste. And seeing her new luxury accommodations, I guess not even Pertok could save her this time.
He ain't even tried. Said something like he knew this would happen and couldn't be bothered to help.
Of course! We were all counting the days and the hours before Queen Oma Septut the Incendiary would finally snap and burn the whole palace to the ground.
And that seemed fine to you?
Well, excuse me for not sharing your savior complex. I had more than enough on my plate back then, all right? Ral was the one who handled it. We should just fetch her and have her convince Pertok to do something again.
Geoff looked at Adder, suddenly struck by a realization.
Because she made it out, right?
I don't know. I didn't... Taylor said...
Talon was there too?
Yes, it was! You almost got us killed, Golf! You think about that for a second? The people get hurt by all the crap you pull on us?
She's the one who torched the Desert Rose, you thick skull! Not me!
No, y'all just gave her the oil and the wine. No wonder she ended up like she did, having to put up with you and your entire goddamn family all along!
Adder finally seemed to run out of words to scream. His head felt hot and cold at the same time, and every last breath came out as a pant.
Everything all right?
Adder shook his head, then he nodded. He muttered an "I'm fine" that didn't even come close to sounding like Cernar. Geoff, who decided to limit himself to silently observing the forge after the verbal beatdown, finally spoke again.
So, how do we put her back?
Was kinda hoping you'd know that.
What? Why would you think I know the last thing about any of this godly tripe? You need the help of a wizard, not a bard! Anyone who speaks this nonsense!
I agree, which is why Zhao's been working her horns off trying to figure out a way to solve this. So why we're gonna come out there and keep on praying to the masses. Because we all want to help your sister get good. Now, if we're done here...
What do you mean if we're done? Of course I'm not done! You don't get to say when we're done! We'll be done talking when I...
Stop! More shouts fixing this. The people out carry waiting much and they want to hear. It will be bad that they listen.
What in the name of the Hatsa was that gibberish?
Miss Zhao is kindly telling you to stop being a tailhole and go figure out something useful to do. We got a speech to give.
You're going to rile the crowd further while my sister is in this state? Who will look after her?
There you go. You're playing fire sitter for the day. All good now, Zhao.
Hey, come back here this instant, you cretin! Don't think you can talk to me like that just because you're wearing a helmet! Adder!
Does everyone in Heirloom scream all the time?
You know what? I'm starting to think I'm just kind of crap at choosing friends.
Aww.
Good morning, Zales and Zales! Thank you kindly for your patience while we got everything sorted out up here. So great to see so many folk gather around for their daily prayers. Y'all making me feel all saintly here.
Someone kindly hooted for Adder in the multitude, but that was all the reaction he got.
Right, it ain't me you've come to see. You know this, I know this. Give it up for the one, the magnificent, the only hero priestess in Heirloom, Zhao!
Adder shook his hands dramatically under his sleeves as he scurried back to let Zhao walk to the edge. Zhao waved her hand awkwardly and smiled at the crowd below.
I am so very pleased to see how much the congregation has grown overnight. The fervor of our ancestors shines with you all today.
Woo, priestess! Lead the way to revolution, priestess!
Lead... what? Sorry?
Priestess! We're so sorry to interrupt your holy duties. Can we ask you a question before the speech?
Of course.
It's less of a question and more of a complaint. Some of us are still trying to decide if we really want to ditch our jobs and get dragged into your little scam. We're not going to solve anything just by standing about. What's the big idea here?
There's no big idea. I simply wanted to pray.
What? That's not what she said yesterday!
You sure you translated that right? She said we had to come together for a new tomorrow.
Well, yes, but I was speaking about an abstract concept. The schism between Barhans in Akator and the Barhans in exile.
The goats, you mean?
Zhao bit her lip. Adder was already fretting by her side before she started balling her fists, but she merely took a deep breath and continued.
We Barhan of the North know what we are. We take pride in the knowledge that we are protectors of the past. None of us were there to witness it, but 4 centuries later, some still scorn those that took refuge in Akator after the fall of Basaksaret. We pride ourselves in submitting to the throes of fate. We chose the harshness of the eternal winter and exchanged one desert for another. It's hard to see past the resentment looking at the abundance southern Barhans live in.
What abundance! I get nothing but leftovers for dinner!
You get leftovers? I'm lucky if I can scrape together one meal after working all day in the salt marsh.
Excuse me? Aren't your houses feeding you?
Oh, look, there's the house service again, thinking they're talking for everyone. Some of us have real jobs.
And we don't? I work my ass off every day of my life.
You get fed for looking pretty in front of your master's dear friends. Shut up!
Zhao cast a desperate glance over the multitude arguing against itself. She tried to grasp towards them, only to immediately pull back.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not understanding your hearts. I'm sorry that, having been so focused on the past, I refused to look at the present. I tried to school you in unity without ever having considered the challenges that set us apart. I know gazelles to have been raised in all but subservience, second to deer in Akathor. And perhaps, deep down, I may have felt like you deserved it too.
Adder's legs turned to jelly as he translated these last few words, but he held firmly to his belief on Zhao to trudge through them.
Please, let me learn from all of you. I am not here to teach you. I am your pupil. I will listen without judgment, and I will give everything I have to serve you through clear and cloudy skies. And when our Jasif wakes up, when she is ready to return, I want her to look at a community that has welcomed their own differences and is ready to look at that new tomorrow where we walk together. We have spent so long separated that we have forgotten what we once knew. We are all children of Hirub. We carry the sun with us wherever we go. We are each tiny seed that grows tall towards the sun into an impenetrable forest. Like shards of a broken mirror, once beautiful, now only sharp and hurtful. We still reflect the same light. All we need is the frame that'll bring us together.
Zhao raised a hand to stop Adder from translating her. She took a step towards the edge and exclaimed in Sernar.
Today, we make friends again! We share tea and salt, know each other like brother!
The multitude stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then, someone shouted,
I'm gonna get some cups for Eastus.
I work at a trade house. I'll bring the leaves.
I live close by. I can get some cauldrons.
Hey, let's bring some pastry since we're at it.
I'm sure they won't miss them in my house.
The Barhan congregation poured out of the temple, seemingly reaching a conclusion of their own. As for the speaker herself, Zhao had to be held together as Adder and her tottered downstairs. She looked like she was about to fall on her face and dig herself a hole in the ground with her horns.
Why are they leaving? I thought it was a decent speech. For an amateur.
Adder's head nearly spun around on his neck. He had to confirm that the voice belonged, in fact, to the living, conscious, blonde fellow deer he most dreaded to see.
Berbeth? Wanda! So you were the translator, as I suspected. It's good to meet you again, friend. I'm very glad to see you're keeping your head. Pun intended.
Adder raised one of his massive hands in the air, ready to detach Burbus's skull from his neck. One quick look back at Zhao, and the thought of the ensuing explanation that would need to follow made him wrap his hand against the older man's shoulders instead.
Hey, pal! Mind following me inside for a bit?
But I haven't even had the time to introduce myself to your little friend here. To sack him at, good miss. I haven't had many chances to converse with native speakers since I left Corbuswe.
Yes, Sagmamat. Thank you for being so accommodating. The fellow deer I traveled with couldn't speak much Pasaktit at all. Mr. Barbaith, yes? My name is Tuapnatirjau, but...
Oh, linguistic shift at its finest. I believe what you meant to say was through Apnet.
Adder choked Burbis with the inside of his arm.
Inside. Now.
Okay.
I'll spare you the details that led to Burbis being tied on a chair in front of 3 people inside the inner sanctum.
I say we return him where he came from. Straight to his maker.
No, you dimwit! We can use him for leverage with his brother.
I'm not very sure what's going on, but is the gag really necessary?
It's for his own safety. Trust me. Kinda wish I'd get the same treatment every so often.
I'm sure you do.
I feel bad for him. I'm going to take it off.
Gentlemen, please! There's no need for such dramatic measures. I come in peace.
Come to piece us off?
I understand your anger, Ada. I do. I've been pondering over the outcome of my recent interactions with you and your friends. And through my many bruises, I have come to a conclusion. I have yet to walk a long, arduous path of self-improvement. That's why I decided to join the revolution.
The what now?
The Bahan Revolution, you see. The name Bahan Rebellion was never used contemporarily. It is an awful misnomer created by the Akine historians, of course, which seems to imply that the Jasif once paid tribute to King Isifik when they did not. We are witnessing a new chapter in the history of Basaksarat, live, in hard times. A religiously motivated strike. And it is my duty as an expert in all Barhan matters to teach the current generation of uncultured gazelles how to...
Zhao gently put the gag back where it was.
I say we throw him in the well.
You think we could get a better deal on him if we smear some blood on his ransom letter?
For the time being, Adder opted to lock Burbis in and keep the key. It seemed like nobody felt particularly in the mood to have lunch that day, but sourest of all was Zhao, quietly brooding on the patio.
Hey, Priestess, you alright? I don't mean to stick my nose in your business, but you sounded a bit more... less... nice than usual back there.
I don't think it could be physically possible for me to be any nicer around that deer, but I hear what you're saying. All that talk about revolution left me a bit rattled, and I suppose that I'm still hung up on what you said earlier.
No, I'm so sorry for snapping at you like that. It wasn't your fault, okay? I'm not used to this sort of pressure, and there's a lot on the line right now, and...
I know.
No, sorry, but you really don't know the half of it. I mean, of course, you know, everyone's looking up to you. It's just that, I promise I'm doing my best to keep y'all safe. I can't afford to make any wrong choices.
I hold no doubt in my heart that you are doing plenty, but it's an effort you shouldn't need to make. It's my responsibility to take care of everyone here, not yours.
I know that, and it ain't like I don't trust you. I owe you my life. It's just...
Stop, please. You don't need to reassure me, Ada. I know I'm not very useful. You'll all trust me when I've proved to be trustworthy.
No, that ain't it. I swear. I'm the one who...
Adder stopped walking. He didn't really know what to say, nor what good would it be to say anything else on a matter he wasn't allowed to speak of. Zhao left without saying bye.
Sheesh. What crawled up her tail?
Joff, do you want to get killed? Because we can arrange that.
What? Is this the gratitude I deserve for siding with you?
I just need you to understand, real fast, that I'm gonna kill you dead if you say one more thing about Miss Zhao.
Fine! Go frolic with your replacement best friend! But don't come running back to me when the gazelles tire of you!
With that, Geoff stomped away as well. Adder just sighed to himself. Not 20 minutes later, just a little before curfew, the strangest noise ambled into the forge. Adder's ears perked up and turned from side to side, trying to identify the source. Incoming fanfare seeping into the yard from a huge crowd. Adder left the forge, curious and terrified, to see what the ruckus was all about. And so he found himself in the middle of an even larger impromptu party in the courtyard of the previously abandoned Temple of Herob. Know each other like brother was being chanted teasingly as the Barhans shared dinner from the same plate and tea from the same cauldron, rather than from the same cup as Zhao had implied. Adder stretched out his neck, trying to find a tiny priestess over the throng. He found her doing the same, and so their eyes finally met. After a short, tense moment, Zhao shrugged. Adder shrugged back. So she went and happily joined the nearest group in their merrymaking. Feeling thoroughly out of place and not a single bit eager to find excuses to welcome himself, Adder tried to sneak away and return to his self-imposed patrol duties.
Oh, hey, it's the translator. Hey, Yatur, come drink with us. Like brother.
Adder, who had a record of having about as much spine as a squid when it came to rejecting invitations, immediately acquiesced and sat down, ignoring everything we just wrote. A casual round of introductions and compliments about the tea later, they turned back to the boy quietly stuffing his face.
Mr. Translator, tell Miss Priestess that she's doing great. And you too. I heard Basektet is really hard. Who taught you?
I got a talent for languages, I suppose.
You know, my mother still spoke it fluently.
No way!
Merchant's word. I'm sure it was half radish stew, though. That's what you say in Chantheray, right? Pa came up from Garethke. Oh, you had this saying he loved. Zells and Rose, 3 drinks for 2 woes?
Oh, boy, I hadn't heard that one in a while.
What? That's not a thing. If anything, we have a fame for being teetotalers.
I mean, where are we supposed to drink ourselves to death if half the barkeeps glare us away?
Adder's thoughts wandered back to his memories of Sep, always drinking in the loneliness of her room, and then to Geoff, drunk wherever he could help it. He never considered once there could be a reason for it.
Hey, so I got this friend, yeah? She's a gazelle with enough money to buy a tavern or 2. Deer wouldn't just turn away someone like that, right? Rich folk are welcome no matter where they go.
I guess if she looked fancy enough.
Money is money, and money makes the world go round.
What are you all saying? You really think deer are going to think of you nicely just because you have some coin? No! You're a gazelle with coin. You run out of money, and you're back to being a gazelle.
Wealth and power are only secondary to the perception others have of us, and this superficial influence is conditional to what the oppressing ruling class considers non-threatening. The ruling class only exists to pit the masses against each other
in order to distract us from our shared plight!
Everyone in the group stared at Akike in stunned silence.
That's enough tea for you.
And speaking of beverages, there walked a goat with a cup on her head and a certain telling wobble. Adder excused himself from the group and headed towards her.
You all right there, ma'am?
The tea was heavily blessed.
Aha.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more than leaves in some of these cauldrons. Want me to fetch you some water from the well or something?
No, I'm fine. It brought back memories of the journey here. The merchants called this mix a warm blanket. It was the only way some of them would sleep when we were camping in the open.
That don't sound very safe.
Of course it was safe. I kept watch for them.
Really now? Good for you. Keeping watch is real hard. Everyone thinks staying awake is the tricky part, but it's the boredom, right? Doing the same day after day and nothing happens really gets to you. You know what I'm saying?
I think staying awake was more than enough challenge for me. I'm not really a nightly person, or a coffee one. I was drinking 10 or 12 cups of tea, unadulterated tea, every evening just to keep my eyes open.
Divine beeswax. No wonder you're so jumpy all the time.
Well, what's your excuse then?
That I'm a thick skull?
That's your excuse for everything.
Sheesh, Jow. You're a mean drunk.
Well, yes, I'm a Barhan warrior. I have my moments.
The warrior priestess caravan guard moments?
So I have my spear, right? And my shield too. And anytime anyone looked the merchants wrong, I'd strike a pose like kapow!
Jaw's demonstration had Adder laughing so hard that he almost fell to the floor. Our protagonist was about to intervene with his own grand delusions when he felt the tip of something sharp getting dragged across the back of his neck and down his sash. He immediately turned his head back, looking for the thief trying to get their hands on his purse, only to find himself punched across the face by a tiny fist.
No, Ada! I'm so sorry. I wasn't aiming for you. I didn't mean to hit you.
No, it's all right. I think the tea was getting in my head just now. So thanks for whacking some sense into me. I'm gonna go take it easy for a while.
Adder hobbled towards the first floor. His staff was firmly clasped between his fingers. He'd seen a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness when he got punched back. He was sure of it. But all he found in the forge was Geoff snoring dutifully in front of his absent sister.
Bard! Hey, Bard, wake up! It's time to change shifts. There's a party going on down there, and I feel like they're missing a little something.
Their common sense, maybe?
Adder needn't do more than frown.
Fine. I'll go play for the gazelles. Maybe that'll make them go away faster.
Keep an eye out for Miss Jow while you're at it. She ain't all that used to crowds, and she got more money than caution.
You should have started there.
Adder mentally apologized to Jow for the trouble he had willingly unleashed upon her. After confirming that he was indeed alone, Adder took a deep breath. Then he addressed the ceiling.
Boss, you round?
I'm always around for you, Bones, even when you try to keep me away.
The creature that dropped down from the rafters was not the boss that Adder was hoping to see, but it was the one he expected nonetheless.
You looked like you were having a great time chatting down at the party. I wish you'd be that sociable with us.
Yeah, well, I hear I don't open up easily.
I could prove you wrong.
Eka dragged a single claw down Adder's arm, raising the skin under his fur. Like she hadn't just made such a threat, Eka proceeded to casually sit down on Adder's makeshift bed and pat the space by her side, making plenty of room for him to join her.
Is that your army? Do you plan to fight us?
They're not an army. Or at least, they ain't here to fight you.
Who will they fight then?
No one, I hope.
You hope?
I guess they'll fight deer if we end up giving them reasons to.
Eka hummed under her breath.
Will they fight you too?
I don't know. I don't care about any of that. I ain't got a snail in this race. I'm just waiting to...
Adder's eye darted towards the forge. Eka followed his line of sight, finding nothing but a little flame.
To see Aina again.
Eka's sharp pupils turned back towards Adder once more, seizing him up on the spot.
All right, I'll get you, Aina.
Say what?
I like the crew you hang out with, Bones. The enemies of my enemies are my allies. Unless they're my enemies too, I guess? But let's not think about that tonight.
Eka circled Adder, posing her nobly clawed hands over his shoulders.
Your friends are being a wonderful distraction for our purposes. My crew tells me the guard is in such a state of disarray that they hardly notice our presence. That's why I'd like to cede you Aina, to help with any ruminant-related issues that may appear. I'll arrange for her to return to her direct duties overseeing the temple from now on. Consider it a small reward for being such a good, if hard-to-train, pup.
Eka howled at the wind, letting the sharp sound resonate all over the city. Several other howls soon joined it, barely audible over the party.
There. She'll receive her new orders soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for thanking me, pup. But I wasn't the one keeping her from you in the first place. I can't promise I'll be able to keep this arrangement forever, but I'll try. Be nice to me, and I will be nice to you. This is a promise to our continued relationship.
Eka jumped against one of the barred walls, and then back to the ceiling.
Did anyone bring cake?
I don't think they did, no.
That's a shame. I tried to ask about it, but apparently I don't have enough money to buy this Chanthurian delicacy, as they called it. It would seem pieces of cake are harder to come by than you made it sound.
I guess I could always make one?
You can do that?
A glimpse of a future involving cakes made by his hand crossed Adder's mind, of Seb brimming with pride as she savored her new cook's work, of him eating all the cake he could ever possibly want.
Ah, yes! Thus starts our alternate universe recipe book / cooking romance adventure, The Chef of the Upperfield!
You mean Addersind of the Upper Kitchen?
I mean, I want some cake too.
I could learn how to bake some stuff, but I ain't got no tools, and I hardly got the time to be leaving the temple.
Yeah, fair point. We'll figure out something next time.
Adder's chest only started filling with air again as he watched Eka scuttling out through the ceiling. She let her body hang upside down one last time.
Oh, I almost forgot. Thanks for the deer snack. It was delicious.
The stag's face went pale. He barely managed to wait for Eka's tail to disappear before darting out to find the prisoner that had so easily slipped out of his mind, and the key that had vanished from his purse. Adder ran all the way back to the inner sanctum. The door opened under his hands with a soft push. Burbis still remained inside, unharmed, like he prayed. No longer tied, however.
Well, well, look who it is now.
Who took these off you?
A gargantuan doe in a hat, I think. All I had to go by was her voice. She took my glasses off and poked me with a skewered potato before releasing me.
deer snack. Of course, a snack for deer. Eka was just messing with him. Adder took a hand to his face and sighed in relief. It didn't last long.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you alone.
Why, yes! You really shouldn't have. I'm an invaluable asset to the cause, donating my time and knowledge for the sake of it.
Listen, Bearbeth, from one thick skull who don't know when to shut up to another. Despite everything you've done, oh gods, I must be drunk. I know you mean well. I want to believe you ain't a bad guy. For real. You've been a hair's width away from getting me killed a couple of times now. But I know that wasn't really what you were going for. You mess up, and you apologize, and you make up for it. That's what a good buck does.
Burbis silently shimmied with pride that Adder wouldn't afford him.
However, what you were going for makes no difference in the end. You keep talking down to these folk, any folk, and then when someone finally snaps and comes at you, it's them that gets in trouble because justice wasn't made for us.
Justice isn't made, it's a social contract.
That don't matter now. See? You're so convinced whatever you're going to say is so important that you can't hear a thing outside your own noggin.
Why?
Or maybe your ears are just so stuffed with Papa's gold that no one ever dared tell you to your face you could be a massive, goddamned creep.
What do my family assets have to do with any of this? I don't care about the money or the privilege. It's not my fault I was born with them. What matters is how I use them. And I feel just as strongly about justice as you do. All I ask in exchange for helping is the gratitude of those I help. What's wrong with wanting that much?
Yeah. But see, you're kind of inclined to try and help even those who don't want your help, and you don't take no for an answer.
So you ain't doing this for nothing in the end. You're here to hear what a good buck you are. What if no one says that? You gonna turn us in?
Of course not! I have come here because I believe this is right.
Then do right.
Burbis sighed. He let himself fall back into the chair, rubbing his forehead to try and keep an incipient migraine away.
How many more ways can a man apologize, Ada? I truly wish I could do anything else to show I mean it.
I don't know. I kind of stink at apologizing for all the times I gotta do it too. But the one thing I can tell you is that ain't nothing much in this world that words alone can fix. Pa always said that talk is cheap, and if sorry costs a doru, nobody'd ever say the word. Now, I don't think that's 100% right. If you never say you're sorry, how is anyone supposed to know you regret anything at all? But it ain't no cure-all fix-all to get you out of hot water when the deed is done. Sometimes, the right thing to do is shut up and listen to show you care. Others, you gotta get and leave them space to forgive you. And the rest, they may just want to hurt you back for the rest of time. You just gotta try to do right by them. Because you can't just tell folks they gotta forgive you. You don't get to choose who wants you back after failing them. Some mistakes can never be undone.
Adder took a hand to his missing eye.
I'm here giving you a chance because I'm not even brave enough to tell you what I'm making it up to you for. I don't want you to spend the rest of your life apologizing too.
Burbis stapled his fingers over his lap. He hesitated to look Adder straight in the eye, but he still went above and beyond to try, at least to look him in the nose.
I'm sorry for all the trouble I must have caused you. I'll be more careful with what I say and do. I want to help. You are very interesting people, and I want to be friends with all of you.
Good. You've already apologized to me. I can't forgive you for everyone else.
Yes, of course. Where's Elbar's kitchen maid? I'm sure I have a lot of apologizing to do for whatever I said to make her so uncomfortable after the trial.
Elbar's kitchen maid?
The realization hit Adder like a cart running downhill. He nearly broke his jaw gaping at Burbis so hard.
You remember Sip?
How could I forget? My face still feels hot where she slapped me.
Sure enough, right at the edge of his cheekbone, there was a bit of singed hair.
You, with me, now!
After an intense race across the temple, which neither deer's body was prepared to handle, they made it to the forge. Adder had to put together quite the situation brief to alleviate Burbis's confusion and reduce the possibilities of him getting slapped to the ground again should Seb come back anytime soon.
Oh, gods above! It can't be!
Shh! Keep your voice down. You never know who could be listening.
How could I ever possibly lower my voice? This is the unthinking life force, the impression of light, the legendary sunlick, the most precious of all alchemic components. I have spent a lifetime and 1,000 liquor barrels trying to recreate this exact phenomenon, Nada. And here it is, right in front of me, taunting me with the ease with which it shows itself to the unversed.
Bearbeth, that's a person.
Yes, thank you for your input. I suppose it may be good to provide some context so that we can understand each other. This fire is not a fire. It is a stabilized version of an anomaly in the natural progression of the Hatsa currents, which traditionally we'd represent in academia as a swirl, or a vortex due to its properties. In extremely simple layman's terms, this is a Hatsa sink. All that comes in contact with it will be irreparably sucked in and disappeared into oblivion.
Right? But that's a person.
Burbis looked at the fire. Then he looked at Adder.
No, it isn't.
Yes, she is! It's just that she's the Yasif, and she was cursed to be forgotten, and... That's about everything I know, really.
So you're saying this is the Yasif? What remains of her, that is. Yes, that would make some degree of sense. The fate her cast on the Yasif Omagebseb, and the legendary technique the Sifi in his court developed to bond their souls to automata. As one single concept. Oh! It wouldn't be too much of a logical leap to assume he learned a way to tie his fate to that of others as a measure of self-preservation in the face of oblivion. An instinct to recreate this bond, pass through all of his current, perhaps. Yes, that would explain how the sunlick remains stable. This Yasif must have bonded to both of us, yet ironically, we are the ones providing energy to her. She's both master and golem.
Hold on. I'm getting lost. What do golems have to do with any of this?
Technically speaking, we are all flesh golems, subject to the whims of our nervous system. But in a practical sense, maybe everything, maybe nothing, the knowledge behind the fabrication of golems was banned and destroyed centuries ago. All we know is that the sunlick was used to create a semblance of life in them. It is consciousness itself. Just picture it. A chemical which could even be applied to a living being to erase previous intentions so that the user could infuse their own will. The Yasif would be capable of overwriting the very base of our decision-making if they could exude this substance naturally. They could have the capacity to make golems out of any of us.
Burbis sounded exceedingly excited about this. Adder made a point to note to himself that he was surrounded by larger freaks than himself.
I suppose that would mean we share some form of connection too, then. We're bosom buddies! Get it? Because of the marks on your... Never mind.
Adder paid no heed to Burbis's musings. His mind wandered back to the space between getting stabbed and suddenly coming to in Sep's room, trying to save her.
So this really is Yasif's world, and we're all just living in it, huh?
I wonder about that. The sunlick was a famously volatile component, even back when it was commonly synthesized. When exposed to an external power source, golems were known to briefly go mad and then collapse spontaneously into nothing. I don't know whether to blame the curse or just Sif's own nature, but if it is due to their properties being alike, I can only imagine how such fickleness would manifest in an organic body.
Oh, I got a general idea. You know, if you need me to sketch it out or something.
Adder and Burbis looked at each other quizzically. It seems their conversations had diverged slightly at some point.
Be that as it may, this is quite literally a flaw in her existence. She should have been disconnected from the Hutsa a long time ago.
Well, I have it on good authority that she exists. And she's a person, and she's been turned back to being a relatively run-of-the-mill gal before. And Zhao said that other Yusifs change shapes all the time or something.
Indeed. If we look at the Hutsa in its more metaphorical river of emotions interpretation, and consider her existence to be a fragile instability, all it could take to cause such a transformation would be a surge in the current. Whether it be temporary or permanent, willing or unwilling, I'd rather not speculate in that regard. All I can safely say is that she remains in this world because we think that she should be.
What she thinks of it don't make a difference?
Should it?
Adder stepped back, stunned by the question. He'd felt Sep's pain, her void of emotions, and her whirlwind of them. He'd witnessed the darkest pit of her melancholy and stored it away in his own little box of feelings to pretend it wasn't there. Adder sniffed hard, positive that he didn't want to shed a single tear in front of Burbis.
I barely qualify as a Tharthagan, but I consider myself a fantastic engineer and a better alchemist. When faced with a puzzle, not even death could pry me away from its mystery until I stumble upon an answer.
Yeah, that is one of your problems.
And here I atone for my sins, friend. For whatever grief I could have caused you or her to prompt this change, I offer you my time, my resources, and all the knowledge I have. I shall build her a body.
A what?
I know it sounds unsettling, but it needn't be. Think of it as a cozy vacation palace to inhabit while she puts her existence in order.
No! I ain't the guy to talk to here. You gotta take this to Zhao when she's less wobbly. She's the expert in all things holy. And Gyof, too. She's a sister. Even Taylor be.
The sunlick is extremely volatile, as I said. We can't just leave it exposed to the elements the way it is now. The longer we stand by, the likelier it will be for her to cease existing.
I don't know crap about this, okay?
Adder stumbled back.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Just wait a bit more, okay? I need to get some air.
As you wish. I'll settle myself for the time being in the library, then.
Adder nodded, thankful, but barely able to say another word. Adder stood still for a good while, merely listening to the echo of Burbis's footsteps bouncing in the marble slabs. Then came the silence, old mistress, harrowing companion. Silence always turned our protagonist into an unwise man, because silence was never silent. It brought with it a company of wicked thoughts. He was not the man to ask, not today, not ever. He had no power to choose. He shouldn't even be allowed to choose. Every fraction of a second he spent around his friends, he was only making things worse. No matter how he tried, he could not be relied on. And the worst part was, they knew. He was sure they knew. It was only a matter of time before they found out, if they didn't know. And if they didn't know, they should have known. Deserter once, deserter twice. Just a matter of time until they knew he could not be relied on. Adder grabbed his shepherd's crook and set towards the
I wouldn't take another step if I was you, lad. Curfew's on, and Elbar is feeling much better tonight.
Ooh, Illigrab. Finally. Adder's hand twitched around the wooden staff.
Illigrab, where did you... How?
I think we'll continue from here in the next episode. I was really hoping it wouldn't take too much longer for Sepp to get back into a body, but I guess we've made some progress in this episode towards that, with Burbis explaining things, explaining things as far as he knows them, I guess, and offering to make a temporary body for Sepp. Yeah, I suppose we'll see where things go from here in the next episode, and also we'll see what Illigrab has to say about things as well. Maybe he can offer some insight too. But for now, thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you again next time.